Good morning or evening, or whenever you're listening. This is the Venus Mystery Series. Welcome. My name is Wednesday Palacios, and I'm reading from Venus with Her Head in the Clouds. It's a good day. It's a good day for mystery lovers around the world. Hello, mystery lovers. I'm going to pick up as we proceed on to episode 5 of Venus with Her Head in the Clouds, written by Wednesday Palacios. It wasn't raining anymore, and I took 3 gulps of hot, muggy air, and I looked up at the sky. The sun was high and burned down on the atmosphere with a fury. The heat was oppressive, and I felt its weight bearing down on me. With nowhere else to go, I looked through the heat to Main Street, to Abbot Kinney, where I found myself standing in front of Lips. Lips was a lesbian-owned and operated bar in Venice, where I loved to hang out and get away from the day-to-day of the soup bowl. Jill and I had closed down that bar many times, but was I ready to face our favorite watering hole alone? I was about to walk away and head home when Pepper came running out, and she gave me a big hug. "Are you okay? I saw you just standing there. You looked so lost," she exclaimed. I felt all of my inhibitions melt. I had been dealing with everything pretty much on my own, and it was good to see a friend. "I am lost," I admitted. I glanced through the window at the club inside. I loved this place. It was all palm fronds and red neon lips decorating the club, red leather booths and red bar stools with matching blood-red carpeting made the place very sensual. As I peered in through the storefront window with its blood-red curtains, I noticed there were just a few women in there, but more than I expected for the afternoon. "Where's Sylvia?" I asked. "She's still at work," Pepper informed me, adding, "She's gonna be mad at me for drinking in the middle of the day." I gave her a quizzical look. "Why are you drinking in the middle of the day?" Pepper shrugged. "I took the day off. Didn't feel like driving to the valley today. The computers can live without me for one day." I sighed with relief, welcoming back something close to normal. She threw an arm around my shoulder, and we walked into the cool air conditioning of Lips. News of Jill's murder had spread through the lesbian community like wildfire. I felt eyes on me as I perched on a bar stool next to Pepper. Pepper noticed it too, and waved a dismissive hand. "Forget them," she told me. The bar lady, middle-aged and trying to look hip, set a red napkin down and asked, "What'll it be, Venus? So sorry about Jill. Do the police know who did it?" I shook my head. Not a clue. "Just ginger ale for me, thanks." Pepper gave me a hard stare. If somebody hurt my Sylvia, I'd be needing a drink. I sighed. "I'm all drinked out, girl. I don't know what to think." I leaned closer and lowered my voice, adding, "The fuzz dragged me down to the precinct and started talking some weird shit about Jill being a pot dealer. What do you think of that?" We paused while my drink was served, and Pepper took a long pull on her waiting Colt 45. Finally, she admitted, "I just assumed you knew." Well, that revelation almost knocked me off my bar stool. "No, I didn't know anything," I said. "I thought she just had a dynamite connection. You know, I like a joint now and then. And she didn't smoke at all, so I thought she was just getting it from a connection in the neighborhood. I certainly didn't know she was the connection." Pepper was silent another moment before she said, "Listen, it wasn't no big-time thing. She just always seemed to have it when you needed it. She would go off somewhere and come back with a nickel bag. I lapsed into silence, my ginger ale untouched. My mind was processing this last tidbit, and I realized she must have had a stash somewhere. The cops tossed her pad in mine. She didn't keep nothing at home. That's why I didn't know. And she never talked about it, I said. Pepper, ever the tomboy, was picking at an imaginary chin hair. She shook her head. Ain't that something? Yeah, well, my voice trailed off. I choked back a sob, shook my head, and lapsed into a dream world as Pepper began to reminisce about Jill and us hanging out. She began weaving elaborate memories, and she even made me smile when she reminded me of the time Jill tried to teach Sylvia to surf. That was quite a memory. That was the day Sylvia showed up at the beach wearing a bathing cap and a one-piece swimsuit with fringe on the butt. We couldn't stop laughing when we saw it. Sylvia kept asking, "What's so funny? What's so funny?" Pepper's even tones soothed my mind and distracted me for nearly half an hour. When I looked down at my watch, Snoopy said it was nearly 5:30 in the evening. I got up from the bar stool and stretched my legs. "I gotta go," I told her. "I need to check in with Jonathan about the funeral." Pepper seemed to suddenly jolt back to the present. "Oh, yeah, sure. Give us a call." She hugged me and I was off again, walking through the streets until I reached Venice Boulevard, where I hung a left and walked to Jonathan's office. I caught him just as he was getting into his Mercedes. Upscale hippies, that's what we are, I thought to myself. His face looked pale and older, and he gave my shoulders a small squeeze. He pierced me with his blue eyes, and as he asked, "Are you okay?" I nodded wordlessly. Jonathan was a little stoic sometimes, I thought, like he had to keep everybody together. We decided to have a memorial for Jill at Rollins' funeral parlor on Lincoln. "I hope you don't mind, but her mother would kill me if it wasn't an open casket," he said. I bit my lip. Oh no, I thought. Funerals were not my strong suit, and I couldn't imagine trying to sit through the agony of the funeral of my one and only girlfriend. Jill had been my whole world, and I couldn't even imagine trying to lay her to rest in just one day's time. Jonathan caught my look of apprehension and lowered his head. "We need to say goodbye," he said. I nodded solemnly. I really, really hated funerals. I hated the flowers for the dead, the stuffed body in the box all dressed up for the hereafter. I knew the body was embalmed, but it always looked so fake. And then, too, there was that awful smell of death in the air. To me, it was worse than finding Jill dead on the floor. We were silent for so long that it became awkward. Jonathan asked, "Have you eaten? People have been dropping off food at the apartment. I was just going to go get some paper plates because who wants to deal with dishes at a time like this?" "I'll wash the dishes, Jonathan," I said. "Let's go upstairs." He looked relieved, and we walked back to the apartment, both of us trying not to look at Jill's apartment building next door. Chapter 4. The evening meal was so somber and quiet, I turned on the Abrahams TV and let Match Game 77 fill the silence with its silly, sometimes suggestive humor. The game show host and contestants bantered back and forth as I watched Clarissa try to eat. She used her fork to absentmindedly push her food around the plate. Her eyes glazed over. She looked much worse than she did when it first happened. Finally, she said a small, "Excuse me," and she went into the bedroom. Jonathan followed her, and I began clearing the table. Something was starting to bother me. There was something that I had to do. So I washed the dishes, put them away, and went next door to Jill's apartment. The air was stuffy, so I opened the windows wider and pulled back the curtains. Faint traffic noise came in from Lincoln Boulevard, mixing with the Venice Boulevard noise. Even in death, Jill was tidy. There was only a small blood stain. God damn her. I didn't know what I was feeling or why I felt that way. I just grabbed a bucket and filled it with soapy water, scrubbing away at the white shag carpet, finally pulling a beanbag over the stain when it would not fully come out. I plopped exhaustedly onto the purple sofa and wiped the sweat from my forehead. And then, filled with Jill's loss, I asked myself, why didn't Jill tell me about the pot? Was she really protecting me? Everybody knew but me, and that hurt. What, if any, other secrets did she keep from me? I cried and cried until I cried myself to sleep. When the phone rang, at first I wasn't sure what I was hearing because I had been dreaming and I was a little confused. I sat up on the sofa with a start, disoriented. The room was dark and I practically fell over the coffee table trying to get to the phone on the kitchen counter. I snapped on the overhead light and answered the phone. It was Jonathan, and he sounded as if he was in a panic. "Venus!" he shouted. "What? What is it, Jonathan?" "What's this nonsense about Jill dealing dope?" he demanded. "I don't know, I have truth. The police dragged me down to the station yesterday asking me about Jill and pot, but hey, we know she didn't smoke pot, so I just didn't take them seriously." "Yeah, well, Clarissa and I just spent an hour at the police station, and it was very unpleasant. They were making outlandish claims. The things they said about Jill and you were outrageous. And then they said she was dealing marijuana. I asked them to prove it, and they weren't forthcoming. So I got angry and called them liars," he informed me. I wiped sweat and sleep from my eyes, took a deep breath, and asked, "What did Clarissa say?" "She was as quiet as could be. You are aware that the doctor has her on tranquilizers." I quietly sighed with relief. I realized that she probably knew about the pot, and silently I gave her credit for knowing her own child. I had the soup bowl as a source of income, and though Jill made tips as a waitress there, she always had way too much money. She inexplicably was able to buy a new surfboard, clothes, jewelry, and whatever else she wanted without asking her parents for a penny. Yeah, Clarissa knew her child. I remembered the look on her face when Jill showed up one day sporting a solid gold belly chain. At the time, I thought her mother just disapproved of the chain. Now, I knew she disapproved of how Jill got the money for the chain. Lots of things were clearer to me now, but nothing could diminish my love for Jill. The trick was trying to figure out who killed her and why. I looked around the apartment. Could I get lucky enough to find something the police missed? I pulled open every drawer, searched every closet, under furniture, but nothing was out of the ordinary. Maybe the stash was someplace else, like the soup bowl. It couldn't be at my house because the police had searched there. I would have to think about it a little more. Jill loved to drink slender meal drinks in place of a meal. I took one from her cupboard and pulled the cap off. I padded into the living room again and turned on the television in time to catch the tail end of Welcome Back, Kotter. I watched the various characters joke their way through a semi-serious crisis and thought to myself, if life were only that easy. I was so exhausted I fell asleep again. Grief, fear, and just the confusion of the current situation kept draining my energy. Every time I thought I understood what was going on, there was something else I didn't understand, and it wiped me out. Jill used to joke that I was always having crazy dreams, and she was right. Since I was able to remember, I would go to sleep and have very vivid dreams, This time, I dreamed Jill and I were going to the movies, but she went ahead of me and I got separated from her. But it wasn't any movie, it was a very upscale sort of affair, and we were on a red carpet with television stars all around us, posing for cameras. I ignored the cameras and movie stars because I couldn't catch up with Jill. Jill, I kept calling. I can't keep up. But she kept going deeper and deeper into the crowd. I thought to myself, how odd that is. She's carrying a surfboard, and she was wearing that yellow macrame bikini. Her hair so beautiful, flowing down her back. She just kept smiling and pushing through the crowd until I found her lying on the sidewalk dead. The movie stars just kept walking around her as if nothing was wrong. My dreams shifted from one confusing scenario to another as I tossed and turned. I used to think Jill didn't have any worries. That she was just this beautiful girl that could have anything she wanted. But she was dealing pot and doing God only knows what else until somebody had killed her. Her life was tainted, and that made me regret that I hadn't paid closer attention. Yet she walked like a girl with her head in the clouds. It was almost midnight when I walked home. The heat wave had scarcely dissipated, but there was a small calming breeze that blew in from the ocean. My house didn't really catch the breeze because it was 3 blocks from the beach. There were plenty of houses between mine and the shore, but I could still smell the ocean. When I got home, I found Pepper and Sylvia were sipping beers on my front porch. Pepper was snuggling with Sylvia, who always had a tendency to giggle whenever Pepper was passionate. I liked it because it gave me a sense of normalcy. "Pepper, not now," she whispered. Pepper put her brown lips to Sylvia's pink cheek and said, "Yes, now." I half smiled and echoed Pepper, "Yes, now." They both stopped smooching and stared at me with puzzlement. I let them into my apartment and found myself a can of ginger ale. I shrugged and sipped my soda. I'm sorry. I shrugged and sipped my soda. "Happy people in love make me happy," I explained. "Damn, girl, you are the coolest person," Pepper said. I'm going to pause here and put on some more music. So, as you can see, Venus is learning a lot of new things about her girlfriend. Things she didn't know. Sometimes when you're involved with somebody, there's things going on with them that you have no idea. You think you're with them every hour of the day, and then you find out that they are doing all kinds of things. You know, I mean, I've talked to people who said they didn't know that their partner was going to the gym for like a year, and then they were like, "Why are you losing weight? Why are you so in shape?" And come to find out their partner is, working out. They find out that somebody that they love was having an affair. So, here in this case, Venus finds out that Jill has been dealing. The whole time she thought her girlfriend was, when she'd asked for her to pick up some weed or something, she thought that she was just she just had a good connection or something. But it turns out that Jill was the connection. So remember, this is 1977, and it's kind of cool. Nobody knows anything really about the dangers of drugs or smoking or drinking, and everybody pretty much does whatever they want to do. So Venus finds out that her beautiful, wonderful, charming, everybody loves Jill girl is a pot dealer. And she doesn't really know how to handle it because it hurts when people keep secrets from you. So, Let's see if we can pick up now. I have a tendency to forget where I am sometimes. Okay. All right. Sylvia, pardon the interruption, but I want to know what you found out at the police station, I admitted, resting myself on a beanbag. Sylvia ran a hair through her curly strawberry blonde hair and replied, well, they didn't know much, except they don't think you did it. They don't think the parents did it. All they have is the bullet, a .22 caliber with no viable fingerprints. They have no witnesses and no leads. They are saying it's like a ghost walked through the walls and shot her. The room fell silent as we all processed the information. Finally, not being able to take the quiet anymore, I put on an Earth, Wind and Fire LP on my stereo and let the music fill the room. The music was awesome, inspiring Pepper and Sylvia to get up and dance together on a slow song while I sat back and watched. Someone knocked on the door, and I hopped up to answer it while the lovebirds kept holding each other close. Before I had a chance to stop him, Jonathan was in my living room gaping. He was saying, Venus, I just wanted to let you know the funeral... His voice trailed off. I blushed and explained, Jonathan, these are my friends Pepper and Sylvia. His face was red, but he extended his hand to both of them and they shook it. We've met, I'm sure, he said. At the soup bowl, Sylvia offered. He nodded. Yes, that's it. Thank you for being a friend to Jill and keeping Venus's spirits up. I came by to say the funeral will be tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon. You are more than welcome to come. We need all the friends we can get. Pepper nodded, Sylvia nodded, I nodded, and we all stood there awkwardly while the singer from Earth, Wind and Fire hit an impossibly high note. Jonathan turned and left, closing the door behind himself. Pepper let out a sigh. Wow, that was super weird. Maybe not, hon. He should know since he's Venus's, Sylvia said. I call him my stepfather, although that doesn't really make sense, but he is more than a foster father, I told them. Pepper sat down. He didn't know about you and Jill? I'm sure he's thinking about it now, said Sylvia. I laughed. You betcha. We all laughed and I plopped down on the sofa and I thought about it. Clarissa knew I was a lesbian, but she didn't tell her husband. Why didn't she tell him? Was Jonathan against homosexuality? I was sure he wouldn't want his sweet little girl becoming a lesbian. But did he care if I was gay? Or would he simply object to Jill and I being in love? What if... Sylvia was reading my mind. What if he already knew about you two and killed Jill? Whoa, his own daughter? Pepper thought out loud. I shook my head. Why wouldn't he just shoot me? That would have made more sense. But none of us could think of anything as our minds scoured through friends and acquaintances, trying to imagine one of them as the shooter. We could not find an answer. Pepper and Sylvia went home to leave me alone with my thoughts. I lay in the dark watching the ceiling fan spin and the clock slowly move from night until morning. I was done sleeping for a while. A hot summer June morning burned fiercely into midday. I watched the news and poached an egg for myself, considered how lonely the days would be and how my whole world had been uprooted. I didn't think about it when we were together because forever seemed like a long time, like forever. Only now I knew forever actually lasted until somebody died. I sprawled across the sofa and let the television go on and on. I took out a feather duster and began dusting the furniture and the windowsills. Usually I played music when I was cleaning, but today I was just going through the motion, and the television was background noise. Jill liked the tidy house, and her own apartment was immaculate. I was less tidy, but kept my place clean out of habit. Still, I saw her here in every nook and cranny. There was the big conch shell she bought in the thrift store, which we always pretended we brought on a Caribbean cruise. I dusted it and put it back in the bathroom where I kept my shell collection. I had the family painting with the leaves and signatures in my dining room. I had one of Jill's old surfboards leaning against the living room corner. I looked around and realized the imprint of Jill in my life was never ending. I took a shower and tried to make myself ready for Jill's funeral. So I'm going to stop here at chapter 5. And I thought that I might say a few words about the book so far. There isn't a real list of suspects because of the fact that everybody loved Jill. So, despite the fact that she was dealing pot, it wasn't such a serious thing like it is today. Especially somebody that's dealing, say, nickel bags or whatever. Back in the day, everybody had the local pot dealer, and it was just, picked up a nickel bag on Friday, and while you were hanging out with your friends at the disco, you rolled a few J's, and you had a good time, and that was kind of it. So it removes the real danger at that time, because it's different from today. It removes the dangerous element of dealing pot. It seemed like, just a pastime, just a thing that everybody knew. So why would someone kill Jill? As I read in the next few episodes, we'll find out why someone would kill Jill. Did they kill her because she was gay? Did they kill her because they loved her and couldn't have her? Did they kill her because of something from her past? We'll see the next time on the next episode of the Venus Mystery Series. My name is Wednesday Palacios, and my book can be found on Amazon. Just look for Venus with her head in the clouds. Bye-bye.